Yo, I'm Literal, aka Mega Blitz. In today's video, we're looking at Poison Archaludon EX. Now, I've never been a believer in Poison Archaludon, even any Archaludon EX deck for that matter. However, I could be a little bit wrong. This deck isn't that bad. Let's look at the deck list. Already here at that deck list, starting us off with Archaludon EX, the star of the show. Archaludon EX has the ability Assemble Alloy, which says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic metal energy cards from your discard pile to your metal Pokemon in any way you like. Also has an attack for 3 metal energy, Metal Defender for 220 damage during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon has no weakness. So if we're playing against something like Ceruledge EX, that fire type weakness that Archaludon EX has won't even matter because you attack with Metal Defender, which is pretty cool, I think. Also, we pair this with Brute Bonnet, of course, with that poison package. Brute Bonnet has the ability Toxic Powder. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached, you may make both active Pokemon poison. Now, we're also playing the Pecharunt with the ability Toxic Subjugation. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, you put 5 more damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon during Pokemon Checkup. And for a couple of the other Pokemon that we hear in the deck, we have Latias EX with the ability Skyliner, being able to make it so our basic Pokemon in play have no retreat cost, so being able to get out of our Brute Bonnets or our Fezandipiti or Bloodmoon Ursaluna if we end up starting that is pretty helpful. We're also playing Fezandipiti EX for that flip the script ability. Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX is that late game attacker with that ability Seasoned Skill. Bloodmoon used by this Pokemon costs 1 less for each prize card your opponent has taken, so 240 damage. Eventually you'll be able to attack for free, which I think is pretty cool. Squawkabilly EX for that Squawk and Seize. Once during your turn, you discard your hand, draw 6. And then, of course, we're also playing 1 copy of that Budew because Itchy Pollen is broken. And then for the trainers here, we have 4 Carmine, 3 Research, 3 Boss, 2 Iono, 1 Kieran, 1 Professor Scenario. And then for items, we got 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Nest Ball, 3 Night Stretcher, 3 Pokegear 3.0, 2 Earthen Vessel, 1 Secret Box for the A-Spec of choice. And then tools, we got 3 Ancient Booster Energy Capsules for that Brute Bonnet, so we're able to make sure we had that Toxic Powder rolling. 3 Binding Mochi because we can attach that to our Archaludon EX to be able to hit for some additional damage. For stadiums, we're playing the Perilous Jungle. During Pokemon Checkup, you put 2 more damage counters on each poison and non-dark type Pokemon. So we're able to kind of get that donk effect rolling as well with the Pecharunt plus the Poison Brute Bonnet. Being able to put 8 damage counters in between turns is pretty helpful. And then, of course, we're also playing 6 Metal Energy. Now, let's jump right in to that gameplay. Already, here we are at that Poison Archaludon gameplay here at the coin flip. It is going to be heads, so our opponent is going to be able to decide if they want to go first or second. Our opponent is going to go first, which actually kind of helps out us a little bit. If we're able to get that Pecharunt donk, that would be kind of crazy, but we'll have to see. With this hand, that will not be happening. We're going to have to mulligan this hand away, unfortunately, but not too big of a deal. It looks like our opponent might have a little bit of a difficult decision here, deciding what basic Pokemon they want to put in play. So shuffle up here. We're going to get a mulligan, but we're going to get into that Pecharunt and that Brute Bonnet, so not too bad. And we got the jungle. We just got to find Arven off that Pokegear when it's our turn and hope that they also aren't trying to poison donk us. That's something also. So starting off here, not too terrible of a hand. It's kind of relying a lot on this Pokegear, however. But our opponent is going to be playing, it looks like Hydreigon with that Dusknor package. But we're going to see a Buddy popping down here for double Dreepy. So it looks like maybe Dragapult with a splash of Hydreigon with that Dusknor patches. I've seen a lot of people pairing Dragapult with just about everything, so it does not surprise me. Pokegear, we're going to get an Iono, unfortunately, which is not really what we wanted, but we're going to play the Perilous Jungle, and then we're going to Ultra Ball here, grabbing ourselves that Squawk, play the Squawk, and then we're going to Squawk and Seize, trying to find an Arven here, and we ended up not finding an Arven. 3 energies, Ultra Ball, not great. So Ultra Ball going to pitch 2 of those energies for, it looks to be maybe Latias EX, but I'm actually going to grab the Budew here. And the reason I grab Budew is because I can attach, retreat out of the Pecharunt, go up into the Budew, and then Itchy Pollen for 10 damage to be able to establish that item lock. So not too terrible of a start for us, kind of relying a little bit on top decks here at this point, unfortunately, but Our opponent, like I said, cannot play any items, so we're kind of slowing them down a little bit. No rare candies, no earthen vessels, no more Buddy Buddy Poffins, no Nest Ball or Ultra Ball or anything like that. So really relying on the fact that they just have to kind of have the Dracloaks or something like that in their hand. They do evolve their Dino into Zwelos, and then they are going to play a Boss's Orders here, and they're going to pull up maybe something here. They're going to pull up the Brute Bonnet. I was thinking maybe the Squawkabilly was what they pulled up, but it was the Brute Bonnet here. Top deck Turo, which isn't terrible here, actually. We're going to find a Metal Energy with our Night Stretcher from the discard pile. Turo, pick up our Brute Bonnet, throw our Budew back up, rebench the Brute Bonnet, and Itchy Pollen for 10. Kind of a huge, insane top deck, honestly. To find that Turo. Not really what you want to use it for, but I also don't want to lose my Brute Bonnet, and I feel like establishing and keeping this item lock is a little bit more important than anything else right now, so that's what we're going to go for here. Now, something else that's also kind of important to note, I feel like, is that the Cursed Blast from Dusknoir or Dusclops is kind of unfortunate here. So they are going to be able to use that Curse Blast ability. Going to be able to knock out probably our Budew here. Try to force it to throw up something else that we don't want in the active spot, unfortunately. But we're going to get a prize card here. So we're going to grab ourselves and our Archaludon EX off the prize card, which is kind of insane, actually, to think about it like that. But we're going to throw up our Pecharunt here. Our opponent is going to throw up a Dreepy here. Now, if we can top deck something kind of crazy, like maybe Iono or maybe Arven, we kind of just need a little bit of help here. And we're going to get the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule off the top. We are getting every top deck we need for this. It's kind of insane here. So we're going to hold on to the Archaludon here just for now. We're going to use that Toxic Powder. Going to be able to use that Assemble Alloy, throw both of the Metal Energies, and then pass turn, we're going to take a knockout with that poison on our opponent's Dreepy here, taking an additional, or sorry, another prize card, putting us at a 4-5 split. Now, if only my top decks could be this insane when playing at Cups and Challenges, I would have so many championship points. However, that is not the reality of it. It just happens for this one game in a deck that I've played for the very first time. But nonetheless, our opponent here gonna throw out the Ultra Ball now that they are no longer under that item lock from Budew. So our opponent gonna pitch Dusknoir, and I couldn't see what the second card was, but probably gonna eye up maybe a Dragapult here. Gonna be able to turn a rare candy into that Dragapult. If they have the energy, they could also just Jet Headbutt for the knockout, which would be kind of insane actually. If they just were to Jet Headbutt, take a prize card, and then just kind of force me to have to two-shot the Dragapult with the Archaludon, but they just pass turn actually. So we're going to discard our hand with Carmine here. Gonna throw down our Latias EX Ultra Ball, discarding Boss's Orders and that Carmine here. Gonna grab ourselves probably another Duraludon. I had up Fezandipiti, but didn't really matter too much. And now we're going to use that Toxic Powder ability to force our opponent to take at least 3 damage counters in between turns. So hit for 220. Plus another 30, going to be 250. If we had Binding Mochi, we were going to be hitting for 290, which is a pretty solid number to be hitting, I feel like. So now, off to our opponent here. They're in a position where they have, if they have Boss's Orders in like an energy, they're able to take a knockout on the Pecharunt, but they're going to throw that Dark Energy, their Hydreigon EX, and then just pass turn to us here. So we're going to be able to attach the Metal Energy to the Duraludon on the bench probably. Also going to have access to Professor's Research for Supporter this turn, which is pretty good. We could just hold on to the Metal Energy if we research and then find our Archaludon. We're kind of fine, but not a big deal. Attach and then research here. We're just going to have to take the knockout. So Metal Defender for another 220 damage. Taking a knockout on that Dragapult here. Taking 2 more prize cards. Getting us to a 2-5 split. Now, our opponent is not in a great spot. We're going to be able to two-shot this Hydreigon EX. So we're just going to see kind of what they got going on here. They're going to attach the Psychic Energy to the Hydreigon EX here. They got 2 cards in hand. So Crashing Headbutt for 200 damage. Discard the top 3 cards in my deck. So now I'm like, okay, well, I guess just kind of can attack. It doesn't really matter what we do. So I'm going to Pokegear here. I find Carmine. I'm going to be able to attach the Metal Energy probably to my Duraludon, and then also Toxic Powder this turn here. But we're going to Kieran do an extra additional 30 damage here just to kind of get some more in. Now, Unfortunately, since Hydreigon is a Dark-type Pokemon, it's only going to take 1 damage counter and will take 3 damage counters, but we have the Night Stretcher in hand, so if they KO the Archaludon, we can just Night Stretcher for the Archaludon, again, out of the discard pile, evolve, assemble Alloy, and take the knockout from there. But our opponent's going to have Arven here, going to be able to find themselves an item and a tool card. Now, worst case scenario for us, they find exactly those 2 cards, Counter Gain and Earthen Vessel. So Earthen Vessel is going to be able to discard a card from their hand, find themselves the missing energy that they're going to need, which is going to be that metal energy to be able to attach to the Hydreigon, and then the Counter Gain is going to make their attacks cost 1 colorless less if they are behind on prize cards, which they are. So they're going to be able to Obsidian here, taking out our Archaludon EX, our Duraludon, and our Pecharunt. Now, if they have Unfair Stamp, we are in a lot of trouble here. They can't play Iono because they played Arven, but let's just hope they don't have Unfair Stamp, because they're going to be able to take an insanely amount of prize cards this turn. 4 prizes in a single turn is how much they're going to be able to take, which is pretty bonkers to think about. So Obsidian coming from our opponent here, going to be able to hit the active for 130 damage, and then the bench Duraludon and the Pecharunt both for 130, taking 4 prize cards, putting us to a 2-1 split. Now, little do they know we have Pecharunt in hand, so we're going to be able to win this game off the back foot of the poison package. So Pecharunt coming down, retreat into the Pecharunt. We're going to use that Brute Bonnet Toxic Powder, making it so things are poisoned. Pass turn, 6 damage counters, right to the 330 damage that we needed there. Perfect math, absolutely. And then ended up picking up the dub there. Because of that, absolutely perfect math. Definitely was planned, for sure. It was not planned, but that's fine. But let's jump right in. All right, it's going to do it all for today's video. Make sure to put the that I played in today's video in the description below, ready for copy paste into TCG Live. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Poison Archaludon. I really think this deck is pretty underrated, and I was a pretty big hater on Archaludon EX, or just Poison Archaludon in general for quite some time, and I'm still maybe not a big believer, but more than I was before. But if you guys want the content I've been making so far on the channel, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And of course, make sure to follow me on all social media and join the Megablitz Poke Cove Discord. But before we end today's video, I'm going to give a huge shout out to all of my channel members you see here. They can support the channel even further by joining the Trainer Club here on the Megablitz YouTube channel. So that's going to do it all for today's video, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!